If you please stand and join Sue Lounsbury, please, in the pledge.
Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you. You all may sit, except. And then will all of the visiting Rotarians and the Rotarians with guests please stand? All right, I'll go around the table first. I have to find George.
Thank you so much. I'm pleased to introduce a visitor today whom we're eager to recruit. Chelsea de la Meliere is the new Boy Scout girl here in Boulder. She is the newly anointed district executive of the Indian Peaks district here in day 2. And so she's from Michigan, and she has just 2 weeks ago completed a Master of Science in Sports and Exercise. So she knows a thing or two, and she's exactly the kind of young professional we're encouraging to become a part of our club. So show her a warm Boulder welcome.
And I'm a visiting Rotarian from the Longmont Club, and I'm also an executive with the Boy Scouts, and I'm getting Chelsea out to get to know Boulder. So. John Eastman is my...
Now?
Thank you. This is my very good friend, Barbara Stern, and Barbara is retired owner of Affordable Closets and also a retired disc jockey, and she serves on the board of KGNU.
Dick?
Good afternoon. I'm Dick Golden. I've applied for membership here. Thank you.
Hi, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Juliet Harrington. Juliet and I have known each other for many years. I knew her originally when she was very successfully involved in private business, and she called me up the other day and said she was interested in coming to Rotary. So I invited her to come, and now I find out she's got her PhD in archaeology and is working on a project in Indo-Pacific migration. I thought, well, that's really a change. And then she told me she's also taken up auto racing, and she's a racer. So I think she'll fit right in. She's eclectic, I'll put it that way. Dr. Juliet Harrington.
Hi again, everyone. Eve Kilmer has been a guest with us now on and off for the last couple of months, mostly on, and should be all on from here out as her paperwork's been submitted, and she's going to be our newest member. She's a clinical psychologist here in town and has recently been certified as a scuba diver. So I don't know if been to the bottom of the Boulder Reservoir yet, but anyway. So anyway, welcome Eve, and soon we'll be seeing you from the stage.
Hi, this is Carolyn Schrader she's both a Rotarian from the Denver Mile High Club and a guest. She was here to present a project, a wonderful project in Zimbabwe at the World Community Service Committee. Many of you already know her, so welcome her warmly.
Well, thank you all. Did we miss anyone? Come visit us again.
Thanks so much, Sue. And thanks to Sue, especially for pitching in. If you looked at the agenda, she is not Tom Chesney. We had a few changes in the agenda. Thanks to Carol Griever and John Jonas for greeting today. And scanning you in, Judy Pitt, Kathy Olivier, Sue Churches. And we'll have Jim and Michael come up, followed by Carl and Alessandro when we turn them blue. Also, thanks to the meeting management, Nathan and Wendy, Fred, Bob, and Cassidy for doing the raffle. So, there you go, Jim.
Well, it's time for graduation. I'm delighted today to reintroduce to the club Michael McHale, who is the CEO of True Community Care, which includes the healthcare organization that's in northern Colorado in Greeley. Michael comes to us from the Chicago area, but with many years of experience in Rotary. He joins us as in the classification of healthcare, and keep your ears open because he's now got some things going on in telemedicine that involves our True Community Care organization, which many of you know is the oldest hospice in this part of Colorado. So please welcome Michael McHale, going from red to blue.
Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure, duty, obligation this morning to reintroduce Alessandro Sachs as his transition from red to blue. I first met Alessandro about 6 months ago, and it was a very fortuitous meeting. He was sitting there drinking beer at a beer fest. And someone said, go over and talk to this guy because he's interested in Boulder Rotary Club and he likes to drink beer, as do I. So I went over and talked to him and learned, he was from Switzerland. And as some of you know, I sometimes live right across the border from Switzerland and France. And so we kind of hit things off. And then I said, well, what do you know about Rotary? And he said, well, I've been a Rotarian since 2003. I'm the past president of the Rotary Club of Bal Dreilingerijk, is that close? Which is a 3-country club involving members from Switzerland, Deutschland, Germany, and France. And so I do know something about Rotary, and I'm interested in joining the Boulder Rotary Club. And I said, this guy might kind of make a good Rotarian here. Maybe we ought to have him around. And so he came. Alessandro is not Swiss. He's actually Italian. Although he was born, if I get this right, he was born in Austria, I think. But he's actually an Italian. He's not Swiss or Austrian. He's lived in Austria. He's lived in Italy in several different locations: Puglia, Rome, Bologna, Milano, Monza. He's lived in London. He's lived in Basel, or as you guys would say, Basel, Switzerland. And now he's moved to Superior, Colorado, and he's joined our Rotary Club. What I like best about Alessandro is he is a stand-up guy. That is, when you ask him to do something and say, hey, this is really important for Rotary, would you volunteer to do it? He says, of course, sure. And so he's going to be our new chairman of our WCSC committee, the World Community Service Committee. So please join me in welcoming officially, in a blue badge context, Alessandro Sachs.
The next agenda item that has changed Carl is coming back with his hat to give us a polio update. Unfortunately, Pam Hike, who was going to do the literacy one, is having some abdominal problems and is in hospital right now. So we'll pick up literacy later. And Carl, it's yours.
Good morning again, everyone, or good afternoon. This is going to be an update on polio. It's going to take me about 5 or 6 minutes. And I stress the very first point of the rotary four-way test. Is it the truth? And what you're about to hear is not pretty, but it is the truth. Remember, with polio, there's 2 kinds of polio virus. There's the wild virus, the kind that's been around for a couple thousand years and still is around in a couple of countries. And there's something called vaccine-derived polio virus, which originates in the oral polio vaccine, which consists of attenuated viruses, and in infrequent times, that attenuated virus can mutate over a period of a year or 2 and become a virulent virus that paralyzes kids. And so when we talk about vaccine-derived poliovirus, or VDPV, that's what we're talking about. Our end game for eradication is taking a lot longer than any of us expected. And the end game goes on. Why? It's because polio eradication today is now as much a counterterrorism program as it is a public health program. And let me explain why, and let me explain where we are. I came back last week from Kenya, from Nairobi, where we are now experiencing a regional polio outbreak involving Kenya and Somalia. And if this is anything like the one we had in 2013, 2014, it's soon going to involve Ethiopia as well. Let me have the first picture. About a month ago, in an area of Nairobi called Eastleigh, which this is a picture of, we isolated from a sewage sample a CVD-PV, a circulating vaccine-derived poliovirus, very closely related to the vaccine-derived polioviruses that we isolated last year, at the end of the year, from Mogadishu, Somalia. And now it's in Kenya as well. It has been declared a public health threat of international concern. I want to stress that these were environmental samples. They did not paralyze any kids because the immunity levels were high enough, but they could paralyze kids if they got into a kid who wasn't immunized. Why do we have this? There's an outfit called Al-Shabaab that controls South Central Somalia and threatens Kenya. They blew up the Westgate Shopping Center about 4 years ago while I happened to be in Nairobi. So that's where we're at with the latest polio outbreak in Kenya and Somalia. Let me move on to another country, DR Congo. We've had 4 cases, and these are cases, kids paralyzed, by vaccine-derived poliovirus, what we call a CVD-PV2. It was type 2 polio. 4 cases so far this year, and this is in a country that is right now experiencing an Ebola outbreak. 40 cases so far. Ebola is moving into Kinshasa. We're going to have hundreds of cases before we're done. But that's Ebola, that's not polio. But we do have VDPVs in DR Congo. And then we move on to Nigeria, where we've had 1 circulating vaccine-derived poliovirus type 2 case this year, that is a kid paralyzed. No, I'm sorry, not paralyzed. This is an environmental sample. No wild virus. We haven't seen wild virus in Nigeria since 2016. And we're hopeful that it's gone, but we don't know. Why don't we know? Because where the wild virus was in Borno State in northeastern Nigeria, which borders Lake Chad. And Borno State is 1/3 to 1/2 controlled by another terrorist outfit called Boko Haram. These are the ones that kidnapped the Chibok schoolgirls some years ago. So we don't really know what the situation is in Borno State. We're hoping polio is no longer there, but we don't know. And moving on, in the Lake Chad Basin, in the islands and in the countries that surround Lake Chad, countries like Chad, Niger, Cameroon, we don't know because we haven't found polio and we've looked for it, but we've got a lot of surveillance gaps. We don't know whether polio is there or not. And Boko Haram also is in those countries. In the Middle East, we've had no cases of any kind in 2018, but in 2017 in Syria, there were 74 cases of vaccine-derived polio virus that paralyzed 74 kids because it was difficult to access those kids in Syria. We think we've stopped that outbreak, but we don't know for sure, and we still have Daesh, or ISIS as it's called here in America, in pockets of Syria. And finally, let me conclude with the two remaining endemic countries. Endemic meaning these are ones that have the wild virus now. They've always had the wild virus. We've never succeeded in getting rid of the wild virus in these countries. And that's Afghanistan and Pakistan. Afghanistan has had 7 wild polio virus cases, paralyzed kids, so far in 2018, compared with 3 in the same time period in 2017. Plus, it's had 1 environmental sample positive for wild virus. Pakistan has had only 1 wild virus so far, which makes it look really, really good. But don't believe the numbers, because we have all across the country, we have environmental samples of wild virus, which demonstrates that the wild virus is indeed alive and well across Pakistan. Why? In Pakistan, it's in part because of the Pakistan Taliban, and in Afghanistan, it's in part because of the Afghan Taliban and Al-Qaeda. So ladies and gentlemen, the picture globally is not pretty. You're going to hear from lots of people how this is going to be the year we're going to eradicate polio. Well, that's possible, but don't bet the house. Thank you.
Well, Jack,
Is that out because of improper disposal? I mean, what is causing this vaccine-related virus to be out?
Take 1 minute.
sure, go.
Okay. In 1 minute, and there's stuff on the internet, you can see like a 5-minute thing that describes this better. A vaccine-derived poliovirus, it comes from the oral vaccine, the Sabin strain of vaccine. The Sabin oral vaccine well, depending whether it's trivalent or bivalent, it contains attenuated live virus. When that attenuated live virus gets into a kid and the kid sheds it and it survives in the environment for a couple days or a couple of weeks, and then it gets into another kid who has not been immunized, so it keeps on living. Environment, new kid, environment, new kid. If that goes on for a year or 18 months, it can mutate. And it mutates to the point that it is paralytic and can start paralyzing kids.
So while Jack is coming up to introduce our speaker, on your tables you have another one of our committees highlighted, Adelante, so take a look. Jack Rummel. Thank you, Tim. And he did bring a couple little handouts, so as you leave, you might feel free to pick up on that back table there. At this point, let's just go right into maybe a 7th inning stretch. If you bought a raffle ticket today, why don't you just get on your feet? Now, if you happen to win today, you're going to have $70.50 to start this Memorial Weekend. If your number on your ticket begins with a 1, you can remain standing. If you have a 7, you can still remain standing. 5, 4. If your last digit is 1, you should be the only one standing. Okay. Is that the truth, Peter? 175411. Oh, David. Okay. Well, happy weekend. Let's go to the PowerPoint. While we're queuing up the PowerPoint, if you would like to sign up for the rotation day and need some electronic
Hello, Rotarians
assistance,
and guests, and welcome to
Aaron
PowerPoint for
will
May
do it.
18th, 2018. There's so much going on, we don't have time for fancy movie stuff or rock music or anything else, so let's get going.
Shout out to the Rib Committee, especially Chad Stam for stepping up the rib. Looks great.
Thanks, Chad. We also want to thank Erin Rattay for her and her husband's wonderful presentation last week of their incredible motorcycle journeys. So cool.
Also, thanks to the committees that participated in the 2018 Candidate Forum. And Rotary Comes Home, which made over $1,400, which is 3 Riley scholarships.
Both of these were well-attended, fantastic events, and many were involved in these events, but we are shouting out Joanna Kane right now for all of her hard work. Salute!
And with so much going on, we wanted to remind you that May is Youth Service Month, and last week at Whittier Elementary School, Rotarians and their journaling buddies met for the first time. Thank you to all the Rotarian journalers.
And don't forget, next Tuesday is the next in our mental health series, Challenges to Young People's Well-Being, right here at the Jewish Community Center.
The Roaring Rotary Event Committee is in need of some donated items of value for this year's silent auction. Please contact Peter Ewing or Joanna Kane.
And Paul and Vicky, our exchange students, are looking for donations to help them fund their upcoming West Coast bus trip. They'll do chores, and they also started a GoFundMe page, which you can access through a link on the rib.
Rotation Day is just around the corner on Friday, June 15th. Registration notices have been sent out. Have you signed up yet?
Don't be left behind.
Paul Harris Fellowships for half price.
The 4th annual Rotarian Ted Manning Memorial Paul Harris Fellowship donation match runs from May 15th to June 15th.
You donate $500, Michael Weatherwax will match your donation for another $500, and you will become a Paul Harris Fellow or go to the next level.
Contact Michael for details on making your donation and getting the match and becoming a Paul Harris Fellow. Don't forget that Boulder Rotary Club is dark next week for Memorial Day.
Our next meeting is June 1st with the following program.
Peter McGraw, PhD, is going to talk to us about serious business lessons from the Masters of Comedy.
Peter McGraw is an associate professor of marketing and psychology at the University of Colorado.
His research spans the fields of judgment, decision-making, emotion, affect, and mood.
And he's funny.
Be here. This is May 18th, 2018, and this is the Paul Harris Fellow edition of Boulder Rotary Club's PowerPoint.
Say it with me now.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you for Sally and Daryl once again, as you always bring us the great PowerPoint. As I was trying to say, Erin has the electronic support if you want to sign up via her she's right back there for the rotation day. And let's see, it was mentioned some thanks to people involved at that congressional forum that was just on Monday. So to give them some exercise, Carl Kurtz, would you please get on your feet? Thank you so much for your leadership with that. Joining him that day, Fred Hull, Gary Kahn, Marion Jarris, Paul Jurdy, John Rieger, Cassidy Murphy, Carl Tinsman. A number of you were there, and if I missed somebody who was part of that, my apologies, but thank you for a great event. While we're still thanking, as you noted on the PowerPoint, this Tuesday the 22nd is the last of the series, the mental health issues one. and those involved with that, Diana Sherry, and Diana is, I believe, still in France unless she's come home sooner. Marion Wojak, Cinda Collins-Arsenal, Fred Hull again, Steve Walker, Tony Martinez, Penny Rather, Gary Kahn. A number of you have gotten to that, and that's been a wonderful collaborative effort with the Boulder Valley Club. So thanks to them and to all of you who have supported them. We give them a hand. Let's move into birthdays. Dr. George.
Well, it's birthday today. We have several birthday people. I thought growing older was going to take a lot longer than it has, but everybody gets a birthday. Patty Limerick was brought in the club by Bob Lord, and she's University Instruction. David Lurie, sponsored by Sue Levine, Manufacturing. Dave Allen, sponsored by Gary Berg, Graphic Design. And Kathy Olivier, brought in the club by Joanna Kane, Classification Accounting. You want to say something?
I'm new to the Rotary and very happy to be here. I'm going to be the new secretary for Bill next year and very excited about that.
Great. Alessandro Sachs, brought in the club by Carl Tinsman just today, and Classification Business Development. Those are the birthdays for this week. We want to encourage everybody to sit at the table anytime that you're here around your birthday. Thank you very much, and happy birthday.
Thank you. And I'd like to ditto what George just said. If we happen to miss your birthday because we're doing something else, please feel free to sit at the table. You can always speak. And I'd like to conclude, some of this is on the back of the agenda, but years ago, Michelle Lawrence, who was the principal of Whittier High School, Whittier, California, as principals often do, give parting words of encouragement, comments to the graduating class. That year, she chose for her parting words these from local favorite Robert Fulghum. These are the things that I learned in kindergarten. Share everything, play fair, don't hit people, put things back where you find them, clean up your own mess, don't take things that aren't yours. Say you're sorry when you hurt somebody, wash your hands before you eat, flush. Warm cookies and cold milk are good for you. Live a balanced life. Learn some and drink some, and draw some and paint some, and sing and dance and play and work every day some. Take a nap every afternoon. When you go out into the world, watch out for traffic, hold hands, and stick together. Be aware of wonder. Remember the little seed in the styrofoam cup. The roots go down, the plant goes up, and nobody really knows how or why, but we are all like that. Goldfish and hamsters and white mice, and even the little seed in the styrofoam cup, they all die. So do we. And then remember the Dick and Jane books and the first word you learned, the biggest word of all, look. So with that, I wish you a wonderful, happy Memorial Weekend. Look out for each other. Don't come back next Friday. Take Friday off, and we'll see you next month. It may be wet and rainy, according to Marilyn, but whatever you do, have a wonderful time. Look out for each other. Thanks for being here.